And he was kind of fair-skinned, and that's the Lord's chair there. So he got burned pretty bad, you know. All these years out there in the sun, working on these roads. You know, he was a military vet. He was Korean War, and he got, you know, fried pretty good, and he had like little spots of skin cancer. He had red hair, so he was kind of fair-skinned. And I knew him when he was about 50 or so, and he wasn't doing it anymore. He had become a barber, and good guy though. And Les was his name. He was a good man. And anyhow, so these roads were built, and they still exist, you know, and they're more elaborate now. But now actually they're breaking down. The bridges are getting, you know, not kept up too good, and whatnot. But nevertheless, they're still there, and they can still be used by this incoming force. At some point. And so Chuck had this map, and on the map, I think I have it right here too, as a matter of fact. So what I did was I transferred it to I went and got a bunch of maps of the United States, and I transferred this to regular, you know, United States maps. So this is a copy of the map right here. You can see that. And it shows the invasion routes and the roads. And now what you can do is you can get a regular map and see where these highways are, and they do exist. And this is a very, you know, well thought out plan. And I don't think this actually shows every place they're coming in, but it does show the main routes of the coastal invasions. So there's that. And these other areas that are shaded in are this is Florida, and this good portion of Florida is going to be underwater, and this area here is going to be inundated with water as well from the Great Lakes after this earthquake that's going to hit in the Midwest here, and this water is all basically going to come on down all the way to Louisiana, but from other people that have seen that. So there'll be a large rift right through here that, from what I'm told, they'll never be able to build a bridge across it, because after this huge quake hits, the ground is so unstable on either side of it that they're just never going to be able to build anything permanent, at least in the time frame that Chuck is talking about here. You know, before the Lord's return. After the Lord's return, who knows, maybe they will. But they'll be using ferries, I imagine, and boats. And in that area, I mean, if you live in this area, it might be a good idea to get a nice sized boat, because you'll be, you know, they'll be paying you to use it eventually down the road. So anyhow, so this other shaded area, let's just show you here. Okay, let me go over this map. A little more logical way here. So this area here is basically the area where these invading forces are going to push the United States military into and surround and then basically annihilate. And there's never going to be a surrender, okay? They'll just run out of ammo, and and most of the troops, the United States troops that can, are going to run for the hills. And then, and they will basically band up into little guerrilla bands and band up with some civilians, I guess, too, and be kind of harassing the occupying forces for this whole 7 years of time that's going to elapse between you know, the beginning of this occupation, this invasion and occupation, until they're routed out of here eventually. And so that's quite a long time when you're talking about, you know, enduring through this period and surviving it, because it's going to be intensely tough. So The other areas that are on this map, the other areas on this map, these are, from what the Lord showed Chuck, these are just a little area of northern Florida here, parts of northern Arkansas, and that area in Missouri, and then up here in Montana, northern Montana, or I'm sorry, that's North Dakota, and then Washington State. This area here, this is sort of a wooded, somewhat wooded area, and also rolling hills and stuff like that. I've been up in that area myself. I've trained up in there at Yakima. And anyhow, there may be some other safe areas that are just not on here because they're smaller, but I would imagine they'd be in the Rockies, you know, this rocky area, and in the mountains in here. Now that's if, yeah, I mean, the area of California where the mountains are, in Nevada there, the Sierra Nevada, you know, if the big quake hits there, and what's projected to happen there happens before the end of all this, or maybe before it even begins, portions of California and the west coast are going to be underwater, from what I can tell. And the water, and what the Lord has shown me too, because I've seen a few things, and He's shown me where I was in Beverly Hills area. I was up above the water though. I don't know how that is, but I was watching it, okay, and I saw I was looking north. I was in the LA Basin area, but I was towards the west, towards like Beverly Hills, Westwood, in that area, Hollywood, West Hollywood, and what I saw was just water, okay, and I could see the tops of palm trees, and then and the water was up, you know, up on the, going pretty high up on the mountain range there, and then eventually I saw just nothing but water. The trees disappeared. So, and then I had another one where the water was coming in. I was looking toward the southwest, and the water was just coming in. Just the force of it was so. I was in some sort of a boat or something, or platform, and but I could sense and feel the force of this water coming in, and I was above Hollywood. That was what I was given when I knew I was above Hollywood, and Hollywood was a couple 100 feet below me, and the water was just rushing, and I was pretty close to the water, you know, and above it, and I could feel this force of this water just pushing, and I knew, you know, that Hollywood was below me, and it was a hard feeling. It was a hard knowing. It was like knowing that, you know, all these people are below me. It was hard, and I woke up, but anyway, I had another one where I was at a marina somewhere, and I can see it like it was yesterday, but I was looking out toward the west, and there were a lot of sailboats that were lined up on these little quays or whatever, these little piers, and they were all tied up. And then there was an opening where the boats could come in, and there was like a small harbor. I wouldn't call it a harbor really. It was more. It was not that big, but there was a concrete like quay to my right as I'm looking west, and on the concrete quay was pretty long. You could tie up a pretty good sized ship there, but I could see all these sailboats in this marina. And then what happened, I was just standing there, and I don't even know why. At first I didn't understand what was going on, but I could see the ocean way out there, and the sun was kind of like afternoonish, you know, and it was I was facing the sun, and the water just started to drop, okay, fast, and it was just like, and then out it went, and there was all this crud and mud and sludge and tires and beams and cables and old junk on the bottom of this little bay, and fish were flopping, boats were hanging off these piers because they were tied on, right? And when the water dropped, they just leaned against the pier pilings, and were just sitting there dangling on these ropes. And some were breaking, you know, some of the ropes, and some of the cleats were breaking off, but they were just sort of just hanging all there, and all these masts started to go every which way, and then the water just went out, right? And I'm looking at it going, wow, you know. And then I looked off in the distance, and I could see this like really shiny, like, it looked kind of like a silverish rise coming up. And I woke up, and that was the end of that. But I knew later, when I woke up, I'm like, wow, you know, because what it was showing me was this wave coming in, and I could see the sun glinting off it, which why it looked silverish. But anyway, so I know that California's going to have a hard time, and I don't know when. And if there was a guy back in the 30s who saw he was hit on the head. He fell off a horse. Joe Brandt, okay, and you can look him up. You can look him up online, and you can read his whole spiel, because I should probably get a copy of that and put it in here too. And then I think I'll make a note of that, as a matter of fact, but I don't have a pen. I don't think so. I'll do that later, but I will remember. So I have it recorded. And so Joe fell off a horse. He went to the hospital. He was in Fresno, California. He was 17 years old, and he started having these weird dreams, you know, when he would fall asleep.